everyone, Suey here, and I thought I would come and talk to you a little bit about what's going on with my whole writing endeavors lately. One of the things I wanted to do on this channel was to talk about my writing journey a little bit as we go along. The only video I've done so far was way back in November when I was going to do Nano, or a version of Nano, and I talked about trying to hopefully adding 10,000 words to a particular story that I was working on. I never did do a report on how Nano went down because I stopped about halfway through that month. Got about 5,000 words added to that story maybe. Since then, I have not been working on that story at all. Instead, what I've been doing is working on the other story that I feel like is ready to go to the next step. That one's called Always Best Buds, and I sent it out to some beta readers in my friends and family and a couple people online that didn't know me. It's always good to have beta readers who don't know you at all because they can be so much more objective and they aren't as scared of hurting feelings and that kind of thing. And got some good feedback, revised a little bit, and then I was like, what do I do now? Do I want to try and publish it traditionally, or do I want to go the independent self-published book route? Like, what do I want to do? So then I decided at the beginning of this year that I just needed to try, just to say I did. I've never queried anything at all, ever. The only thing I did once was a couple years ago. I entered a Pitch Wars contest and I did get a request back for more pages, and then I didn't hear anything more. So that was encouraging to me with this book. I thought, well, somebody thought it was interesting enough to request some more pages for that contest, right? It made me think maybe somebody might be interested in it. So my thought for this year has been to just try the querying thing. Even though I know what the answer is going to be, I know that there's probably really no chance ever that anything will come of it, but I still wanted to be able to say that I tried and that I experienced the process. It just feels weird to think that anything could actually really come of it. It took me 2 months of thinking about it, and so in March I finally figured out how to get a list going on Query Tracker. This is a website where they supposedly have a database of all the literary agents and who's open for submissions and who's not. They have the links of how to submit, whether they want you to send an email or fill out a form or do a contact form on their website or whatever. And so you can go through that list and figure out who might be interested in your particular book. And that takes like so long, just going through the list and reading everybody's wish lists and seeing who's open for submissions and who might like a YA book set in the 80s and a fluffy romance, like who wants that? So I made a list, and I messed up right off the bat because I picked several agents in the same agency, and I realized you can only query one agent per agency, that it's very unethical to send out a query letter to more than one agent in the same agency. But I realized that before I sent out more than one query. But anyway, so I started querying people. I made a query letter. I've got my synopsis page, and most people want 10 pages, the first 10 pages of your manuscript. But still, I'm finding out that when I sit down and say, okay, I'm going to send out a query letter, it takes me like an hour just to send out one letter. I have to make sure that this is the correct agent, that this is somebody that's actually open, that, you know, they are looking for YA romances, and then you just got to make sure you do it all right. And it's just so time consuming. Some people say that querying is harder than writing the book, and I am starting to really think that. I started doing this in March. Now it's May, and I've managed to maybe send out 6 or 7 of them. A couple of them I haven't heard back from at all. A couple of them I heard back from after a couple weeks. One of them I heard back from within the couple hours. So far, they're all saying no, of course. If somebody said yes, you would be hearing about it, let me tell you. That would be a video making moment, I would say, for sure. But the whole reason I am doing this writing update is that this weekend, I will be going to a writer's conference here in my city. Thankfully, I don't have to travel for this like I do for so many other things. That's just right here. One of the best conferences ever. And a couple days long, there'll be 12 classes, 2 keynote speakers. And so I'm trying to get my writer's hat on this week. Most of the time when I go to these things, I feel they call it the imposter syndrome, and I feel that so deeply. I can say I've written a book and I have many whips in progress. I still feel like I'm just pretending. In the years past, there have been classes where they've made us say over and over again, I am a writer, I am a writer. Well, that's what I'm trying to do this week before I get to the conference, is to remind myself that I am a writer, whether or not I am published, whether or not I will ever be published. I've written books, I'm learning the process. I'm going to this conference this week and hopefully going to learn a whole bunch more stuff to keep me going and pump me up to continue on with this whole craziness. My plan is to do some vlogging of this conference. I have no idea how successful I'll be. I'm so shy when it comes to filming in public. So I don't know how that will go down, but maybe I can give you a little taste for what it's like. Some little check-ins now and then of how it's going. If anybody's interested in this story that I'm querying, like I said, it's called Always Best Buds, and I have written it set in the 80s from two girls' points of view during their junior year in high school, and they are writing notes to each other because this is a thing that was, I think people still write notes to each other, but maybe not as much as they used to because they can text, But we wrote the notes, folded them up, passed them to each other in school. And so this whole story is told solely through the notes that those two girls pass between each other, starting on their first day of their junior year in 1982 and going through the end of the school year and all the crazy things that happened to them. And it's very fluffy and very, it's just a pure, fun little high school romance. So, yeah. That's my story that I'm hoping people might be interested in. So I guess we'll see. Happy writing to those of you who write, and happy reading to the readers. Talk to you next time. Bye.